What's up, Choom? It's your pal Jammo, and I just watched Zack Snyder's worst movie since his last one. And boy oh boy is Rebel Moon a stinker. If Army of the Dead stunk like the morning after dregs of a sushi restaurant dumpster, then this one has the soul-destroying aroma of a porta potty at a music festival on Monday morning. It's certainly one of the worst things I've witnessed in quite some time and hits every checkmark for terrible direction that I can personally think of. Yeah, every single one. It's not even funny bad, it's just embarrassing, like a wet fart in an elevator, except somebody caught it on camera and dumped it onto Netflix. However, before we start detailing how this film is so poorly directed it would make Uwe Boll feel adequate in comparison, let's talk story real quick, just so you have some background. It's just bargain basement Star Wars. You start on a farming planet, and then the Empire of Space Nazis show up looking like space Nazis, so you know they're bad, and perpetrate acts of conspicuous evil, like flagrant murder and attempted rape, because who needs subtlety? So then this girl punches them in a bad action scene and goes off on a generic space adventure with a droid and a cheeky smuggler played by Charlie Hunnam, who they meet in a cantina full of wacky aliens. It's so plagiaristic it's almost satirical, like a Mel Brooks movie, except this drivel is about as funny as a hysterectomy. So that's enough about the story, you get the picture. And that's a nice segue to my first complaint, the writing. That's right, as usual, Zack Snyder wrote this himself, presumably in crayon, and the blandness of the story is only eclipsed by the absolute black hole of characterization given to these poor actors. Hey, you remember how boring Rey was? Well, buckle up, Buster, because she feels like a bona fide Tarantino character in comparison to the lump of colorless human-shaped Play-Doh that is Korra. I don't know if Sofia Boutella is genuinely one of the least charismatic lead actresses ever. It's entirely possible given this performance, but I can't say for sure because Snyder proves himself as inept at directing actors as he is at writing their dialogue. Nobody could be good in this role, and nobody is good in this whole flick even though it has some really solid actors. Alas, in the same way that a great director can tease a brilliant performance from unseasoned talent, drawing blood from stone if you will, Snyder appears adept at the opposite. He turns blood to boredom, and nobody escapes unscathed. Some dialogue is just so hopeless that no actor could give it life. People like to use the phrase written by AI to refer to terrible generic things, but Rebel Moon actually feels like it. I wouldn't be shocked to learn that Zack used ChatGPT to write this, and not even the current version. I'm talking like 2.0. But at least Rebel Moon is nice to look at, right? Actually, no, this movie is surprisingly ugly. Even in the past, when I wasn't the biggest fan of a Snyder movie, I could at least appreciate his visuals. Despite my perception of Zack's flaws as a storyteller, his movies usually look good. But Army of the Dead was hideous, and this one is even worse. I used the porta potty analogy at the beginning for a reason, folks, because Rebel Moon looks like muddy diarrhea. It's not even in focus half the time. It's like Snyder decided he could be his own cinematographer, put the depth of field on some extreme auto setting, and then just shot the movie. It is awful to look at. The shoddy camera work does the production design a disservice too. Like, I'm sure some talented people put work into these environments and sets, and because it's a Star Wars ripoff, they're like potentially cool aliens, sipping ecto-coolers in the background of the cantina, for instance. But we can't see them. They just look like blurry nonsense because Snyder won't let anything be in focus. It's the level of filmmaking competence I expect from a first-time director making a Tubi original. But surely the action scenes make up for it, right, Jammo? Even if everything else was dog shit, at least we can enjoy some sweet fights, right? This is Zack Snyder we're talking about, the guy who made 300. Yeah, you would think so, but no. He has actually regressed in this area as well. Remember that speed up, slow down shit that was popularized by 300, but grew stale and out of date by like 2012? Yeah, he's doing that again, and it is so embarrassing. It doesn't even look badass, he just does it at like random moments. There's no point, it's just to do it. I don't know, man, I almost feel bad for the guy. Like, sure, you're Zack Snyder. You're kind of a laughingstock in the movie world in general, but this is something else. It is hopeless. I can't even summon the energy to hate it. It's just pathetic. Anything Snyder once had as a filmmaker is rotting on the side of the road, and this movie is us discovering the corpse. Okay, let me amend something now that I'm giving it more thought. Is this a joke? Is this like a social experiment to see if we will accept a movie completely generated by AI? Not just a script, I mean the whole thing. Like, the technology could be good enough now, I don't know. They just put the likenesses of some real actors in there and told it to pump out a generic sci-fi blockbuster. It seems like this is what you would get. Alright, confession time, guys. Unprofessional confession time. As somebody who values things like storytelling and good filmmaking and just art in general, I decided to turn this movie off about an hour in, after the rip-off cantina sequence when they meet Charlie Hunnam. It hurt. It hurt my eyes because everything looked blurry and shitty. It hurt my soul because it's just so empty. It's so devoid of anything that could be conceived of as interesting. It is nothing. It has nothing. Everything was embarrassing and flat and cardboard. This is the point where I would have walked out of the theater. And you know what? Just because I'm sitting at home and intending to review it doesn't mean it's exempt from that. You know, I doubt it gets any better. Like, this movie is fucking awful. For as much as I've disliked Snyder's movies in the past, I've never walked out of one. This is a new low. Somehow worse than Army of the Dead, and that was staggeringly bad, but I just about made it through. But this is trash, and I decided it's just not worth finishing. My life is finite, and spending another hour and 20 minutes of it on this pile of junk would be a disservice to me as a being with a finite lifespan. I could be doing literally anything else, like making this review, which is actually cathartic. It's like I got out early from an abusive relationship and this has been my therapy session. And that's Rebel Moon! Please don't watch it, not even as a joke. But thanks for watching this and being my therapy audience. And next, I'm gonna take a look at Napoleon. Haven't seen it yet, just got my hands on it and I hope it's good. Peace, love, and majestic hats, and I'll see you guys in the next one.